South China Morning Post, SCMP Martial Arts. It is the post-fight podcast. We're back again on another Wednesday edition. I'm going to be hopefully joined here by Tom Taylor in a minute. He just texted me, actually. Technical difficulties. He'll be jumping in soon. But we have also set up an interview with the One Championship light, heavyweight, and middleweight champion. Reinier de Ridder should be joining us as well, unless there are any technical difficulties on that part. It has been set up, but yeah, hopefully we do get Reinier in. He's scheduled to be on any time now. But other than that, yeah, please welcome back. Thanks to everyone for joining us last Friday. That was a hell of a fun time doing One Championship 159. Obviously, de Ridder stole the show. Main event, first round submission of Vitaly Bigdash. Absolutely impressive stuff. Another win for RDR. He's collected quite a few of them in one, and he's 16-0. Possibly the best pound-for-pound fighter. We talked about it in One Championship after the show. A lot of options for him now, but the main one he wants really is that heavyweight title shot. Here is Tom.
Sorry about that.
How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I was having some technical difficulties. My computer wasn't picking up my microphone for some reason. I don't know why, but here we are.
Oh, it's all good. I'm the king of technical difficulties at the moment.
I don't know, man. I think I might have that title.
I'm not even in my house. So my apartment is under renovation. They're digging up the walls and the floors and the ceiling and everything.
So you had friends or something, or
yeah. Nice. So very kindly put up.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah,
nice. Looking dapper with the hair. I like the hair, man.
Yeah, she's actually styled it for me.
It looks good, man. It's shades of Yuri Prochazka.
Yeah.
I like it, man.
Got a little top. It's looking good.
It does look
got a
good,
bit
man.
of hair and makeup before it went on from Yo-Yo. Thank you.
Oh man, I could use some of that.
Yeah. So I'm in her makeup studio here. So she's got
amazing.
all the.
That's why the lighting's so good.
Yeah. She actually does this stuff.
Okay, nice, man.
Yeah,
a real pro.
Yeah, I may have to permanently kind of do the show out of her spare bedroom.
I'm sure she would just love that.
Yeah. No. Anyway, Al, what's up, Al? Yo, guys, how you doing, Al? Yeah, we hopefully gonna have RDR. Should I double check with Sammy, Tom?
I can text him if you want.
All right, yeah. But other than that, yeah, we got a little bit of One Championship news, I guess, to get into. The main thing I've seen, Tom, is that it's sort of hush been on their website. They're not going to do tickets anymore for 160. So the show before Prime on the Friday night, it's kind of quietly been made another closed event. So after all of our proclamations that this was going to be the final closed event show, we're going to have another one, August 26th.
Well, hopefully the following event in the morning, I presume, will have fans in the building, right? That plan hasn't changed.
Yeah, they still have tickets available for that. That's on the website, but they've removed the link for purchasing tickets from 160, which is a shame. Yeah, I think that would look really good to have fans back for both events.
But I guess they do run the risk of they want to fill up the stadium for the second one. Obviously, they want the optics of that on the Prime broadcast. A full crowd. They risk by selling tickets for the event the night before by depleting the crowd the following day, right? A lot of these people aren't going to want to go to both fights. A lot of people are going to be hungover, probably, not want to come to the second one. So maybe that's what they're thinking. Just put all their eggs in that one basket and really fill that place up for the morning card.
Yeah, that's a shame. Christian Lee and Okrayun, that deserves a crowd, I think, that rematch. And
I'm sort of surprised they didn't put that one on the morning card. I feel like Christian would have been a good call for that one. But
yeah, it's now it's like, are they just going to shuffle around the cards and load up you mean the Friday night one? You may as well just not have title fights anymore, right? You could treat that as like a prelim.
Yeah, or even just have one title fight on that one, keep the Tonlé one on that one, and then move Christian to the following day, or the other way around.
Yeah.
But I would think Tonlé or Christian, both of them being American, would have been a good fit for that card. I realized why they put Nongo and Liam Harrison on that Prime card, because it's going to be an insane fight. It's guaranteed excitement. It's going to be a great treat for whoever tunes in for that first Prime show. But it does kind of you wonder why they have a Thai and a Brit on their big debut in the US, right?
I think, like you said, though, it guarantees fireworks almost.
Right.
That fight.
Yeah. Well, that's why they have Rod Tang on the bill.
Yeah, I think Tonlé would as well. Okay, so we should be hopefully having Reinier. But that's fine. We can talk a little bit before he gets here.
Mhm.
But I'll see in the comments. Everyone get your comments in if you're watching and you want to ask a question. We got a bit of time. It looks like until RDR gets here. LC saying, need a shot outside Singapore. Yeah. Have you heard anything update on this, Tom, on when we may actually see this happen?
Just, I mean, the same things we've been talking about forever, right? There was the plan for the show in Thailand this summer that obviously fizzled, and then, as far as I know, the countries they're looking at for the re-entrance out into the world are the Philippines and Thailand, and I think they're kind of looking at KL too. Maybe I heard, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have any solid information. Just with the same info everyone else has.
Yeah, all I know is Bangkok, October is the target lately.
Mm-hmm.
The latest, target. But nothing confirmed, which makes me worry it's not going to happen because I feel they would have announced it by now, get a bit of buzz going, get the TIE fighters out to speak to media.
And they just had that tournament over there in Thailand too, right? If they were planning an event for a few months from now, you'd think they would want to have it lined up when they do the Road to One tournament there. They could start promoting it there, kind of lay the groundwork, plant the seeds, get some buzz building. But I don't know, man. It may be Singapore for the rest of the year, I think, if I had to guess.
Yeah, which is fine. But, I'd like to have fans there if they're going to do it in Singapore, as we discussed before. Anyway, John KL, hello. Good to see you. Looking good, guys. Yeah, Tom's looking very good.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just woke up like an hour ago, but
yeah, I thought, oh God, I forgot to message Tom about the podcast. So I'm glad you made it.
Yeah. I think I've got it committed to memory now that we're doing it at this time. Yeah. So
if anything, that's why we do it regular. So like neither of us forgets.
Exactly. Yeah. If we don't set a time, it just never happens. We always get our wires crossed.
Yeah, it's confusing, but yeah, we're going to stick to this. Wednesday is 10 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Hong Kong, Singapore, what have you.
It's perfect.
Seems
for
to be
everyone.
a good time. Yeah. Good to see some viewers in the chat. Do get your comments in. Yeah. John KL just says, I just came back from a few days in KL. Can confirm that Malaysia is in need of some inspirational combat sports.
They need some real life superheroes over there.
They need some courage,
some
valor,
integrity, honor,
all of that stuff.
I mean, we all need some of that, right? It's it's the building blocks of society.
It is. And it looks like Tom, I don't think I'm going to be going to Singapore now.
Me either. I don't think. I mean, we'll see, but
I don't think we're going to go. It's just too tough, the situation with Hong Kong still being quarantine-y. And it's a shame. I had a lot of good ideas planned for it.
Me too. We were talking about doing another poolside preview, pizza preview. Give the people what they want. Another 4-hour pizza preview.
Oh my God. It took so long to edit and upload. It was not worth the 200 views it got. Okay. Ashley, good to see Ashley again. To be honest, I expected De Ridder to win that one, huh? He's a monster. Yeah, I did expect him to win. I don't think anyone... There were a few people actually in the chat, weren't there, Tom, who were predicting a big dash win, and then they got very excited when Vitali jumped the gilly, and I wasn't too... I thought De Ridder would get out. Yeah, he's so strong.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty deep. It looked deep, and also that's just the way it goes in title fights. I mean, so many times in title fights, it's a ridiculous ending like that where someone just gets caught in a guillotine or fluke knockout. If RDR is going to lose at this point, I expect it'll be something ridiculous like that. So it definitely looked deep, but again, we got to remember who we're talking about here, right? This isn't just some guy who doesn't know how to defend the guillotine. This is one of the best grapplers in the world at this point. I think we can all agree in MMA. He just looked unbelievable in that fight. Okay.
Yeah, agreed. Ashley again saying, other people are saying De Ridder would lose to Big Dash, but man, he's indeed a champion for a reason. Yeah. I never bet against RDR. He's reached that level now where Christian Lee had got to for me of he's earned the overdog. That's not a phrase, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, you just kind of done counting him out. Until he starts looking worse, there's no reason to pick against him. It's just foolish.
It's weird. Because RDR, when my first time seeing him really in one was against the Tidies, and he'll admit that was probably his worst performance, and he said a lot in the interview with Andrew Whitelaw after that's the one that got away. I'm still upset. It's the only time I didn't finish someone in my whole career here. So that wasn't his best performance. So then when he went and smoked Ongla like that, and then kind of really dominated Ongla again, second fight, he's just never looked back. He's looked better and better every fight. He looks so good against Abasov, and Big Dash. He made Big Dash look, not like a former champion who had just beaten the former champion. Incredible performance. Anyway, we'll get to some more comments. Where is De Ridde? I'm waiting him. I just want to hear his talk. All right, I don't know what that means.
I think that's trash talk.
Trash talk. Okay, yeah. Trans talk. He's not turned up yet, but hopefully he's going to turn up. We still have, we can stay here for as long as need be, as long as it's not more than an hour or so. But
the latest on RDR is that he had agreed to this time, but there's some kind of miscommunication as things were being finalized. So we'll see.
Okay.
He may show up.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
If not, we're going to have to really think on the fly of what to talk about.
We got lots to talk about, man. Tons to talk about. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that note, please ask questions. Anyone watching? Because we are doing this on the fly until we get Mr. De Ridde on, if we do at all. Al C saying, are there any fights left for Big Dash? Never mind RDR. That's a tough spot. Yeah.
That's a good question too. Yeah. It's one of those. Well, no, it's I think we were both kind of thinking the same thing. The problem with having a division like one's middleweight division right now, where there's only 5 or 6 fighters, is it doesn't take long for any of them to effectively clean out the division. Whether they're winning or losing, it's only so long before you fought everybody available, right? And then you get into this territory where you're rematching people. So I think no, the answer is there's really not anyone left for Big Dash or RDR or Ongla in the middleweight division. Probably one of the most urgent missions one championship has right now, I would say, is signing some middleweights and some welterweights and some light heavyweights. They got to bulk up that middle range there because there's just there's nobody there. And it's not like there's no middleweights out there waiting to be signed by big promotions. I bet if they would, started poking around in Europe, they'd find lots more guys like RDR looking for a place to fight.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You look at RDR, I think no one saw him coming. I'm sure some Dutch people would tell you he was destined for big things, but that's the beauty of those kind of signings, isn't it? You can find the future stars. I think that's how one should be doing business right now, instead of just signing no one. That's not a great ploy, or just looking at trying to get people who may have, got some notoriety in the UFC, although they seem to be stepping back from that, haven't they, a little bit?
But even if they just got 2 or 3 guys from like KSW or, Cage Warriors or something, just a couple of, decent middleweights who have good records, who are, fairly experienced, that would totally reinvigorate that division, right? Because it would be fresh matchups for everybody. And it would, I think they really need to get to work on that. But who knows? They probably are working on it. It's
strange because they have no problems, going out and signing the best kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters, do they? And some of the best grapplers now we're seeing. With MMA, for whatever reason, they can't seem to or don't want to,
I guess,
beef up some of these divisions.
Probably what it is that in MMA there's a little bit more competition. A young middleweight, who's 12-0 or something has a lot more options in MMA than a kickboxer would, right? Kickboxing, it's really just Glory or One or a couple others at this point, unless you want to just slog it on the regional scene forever, right? So I think for a lot of kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters, if you get the call from One, you take it, because that's kind of, like the NFL calling almost in your sport, right? It's doesn't get a whole lot bigger than that for kickboxers. But in MMA, you've got all these options. You got Bellator, Cage Warriors, UFC, wherever you want to go, right? So I think that's probably why we see One sign so many more kickboxers than they do MMA fighters these days.
Good point, Tom. That's why you're here.
Just a theory, though.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. Any news about the Galvaos, asked John? Well, I think we talked about it, didn't we? That De Ridde talked about it. Yeah, Galvao was not interested in the MMA fight, or One weren't interested in it, and he sort of regretted making the call out. It was just more in the moment, wasn't it? I think. I don't know about. Is he talking about? Is John asking about Galvao's daughters here, who are?
I'm not sure.
Budding grapplers, I think.
Or Gilberto, the other Galvao.
Yeah. It might be that, but I think I just saw that Galval's daughter won a medal somewhere. I'm gonna, won't be far away signing them.
Yeah, of course not. But that fight never made sense. I mean, it wouldn't even like that. It wasn't a big fight to begin with. Galval's a big name in jiu-jitsu, but it's not like he's some huge name in MMA. He hadn't fought in MMA since 2009 or something ridiculous. He only fought in MMA like 6 or 7 times, and it's not like he's like some juggernaut coming over from MMA, right? It's that fight was never really that big. It never would have been competitive in MMA. I think it was just really one of the only options available for RDR at the time. But there are definitely better options for him, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Prissa Ling saying, any updates on Ongla? None. No. We had a little chat about this on Friday. I still think Yushin Okami is the only one really that makes sense for Ongla. I'm sure it'll be booked on one of these cards end of this year, Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ongla will probably end up on one of those Prime cards because as big as he is in Myanmar, of course, he's developed a following in the States too, living in Florida for so long, training with all these guys. And he's just known as an exciting fighter too, right? People on this side of the world know him, perhaps not as a one championship fighter, but as that like fun guy they've seen highlights of and stuff. So I think he'd be a good fit for one of these Prime cards.
Yeah. He may even kind of be a co-main on one of the Friday night ones, Yeah, but
that's a good point.
Anyway, Ashley saying, do you think Chatri will allow De Ridder to face Anatoly? Yeah, so Tom, I was going to ask you, if De Ridder does kind of shoehorn his way into the heavyweight scene for the title shot, who is it going to be at the expense of, likely? Anatoly or Bular?
Well, I think they have to do the title unification before they give De Ridder a title shot. It just would be too complicated to do it otherwise, because then what you have De Ridder as the champion and his first title defense is against an interim champion. Like the whole point of having an interim champion is that they're defending the title while the undisputed champion's gone. When the undisputed champion comes back, you have to unify those titles. That's step number one. So as much as I understand, De Ridder's urge to get up there and just get this going after calling for it for so long, it would just be, I think, kind of crazy for one to let him skip the queue when you have 2 champions in that division already. Get it down to 1, let him fight the winner. And we've been waiting for Bular and Malikin to fight too for like well over a year now, right? So there's some heat on that matchup too. That's a good one as well. Let's just get that done. And then you have a big fight waiting for RDR. He gets to sit back for a little while, enjoy the rest of the summer maybe. I think that's the thing to do. I think it would be ludicrous for them to mess up this title unification they've been trying to build for a year, right?
But what if, let's say, playing devil's advocate, Bular goes a bit rogue again and says, well, I'm not going to fight him here and then I want this much money or I want it on this date. Do they just say, all right, we'll do RDR, Anatoly, and then, if Anatoly, they can put the interim belt on the line and then...
Yeah, in that case, for sure, I think they would even consider stripping Bular in that event and promoting Anatoly to undisputed champion and just having RDR challenge him. But it's just like we've been waiting for this Bular fight for so long. We just got to do it if we're going to do it. If it takes too much longer, take the title away from him. But let's just get it done, and then we can focus on all these other crazy options. All these other exciting options. That's my thinking on it. But I don't know. Maybe that's too logical and not exciting enough.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because De Ridder wants to fight one more time. He's pretty clear about that in this season, he calls it. Mm-hmm. So unless they do this heavyweight fight in September's cards,
I can see them like doing something interesting for him where, like, say Buchecha wins his next fight, they do a grappling match or something like that, just to keep him busy for the rest of the year while we wait for the heavyweight title situation to resolve itself a little bit. But they got to give him something, right? Because he's one of their biggest stars now. He's clearly their best fighter, pound for pound. And they got to keep him happy if they want to keep him around. So if he wants to fight again, you better find him a fight, right? And it's not that hard.
It shouldn't be.
No. Or maybe it is.
Yeah. But Dark Sid stirring the pot here, saying, ask RDR why he's scared of Buchecha. Dark Sid also saying, I don't think RDR isn't good, but it does weigh in my mind if one did have a good light heavyweight division and how he would have done against guys closer to his size. Yeah, it is his opposition. The only thing maybe counting against RDR in that conversation of how good he is pound for pound across, all organizations.
That's really the only argument against him at this point is the scale of his opposition, right? And he's got some good wins. I'd say the Ong Lao wins are good. The Big Dash win is very good. But again, not quite as valuable as beating, former champions from other organizations and stuff, perhaps. Well, I mean, they're great wins. There's no discounting those wins, but he doesn't have a ton of wins over big names yet. And I think that's really the only criticism you can make against him in terms of how he stacks up against other middleweights around the world. But at this point, like just based on what we've seen of his skill set, there aren't a lot of middleweights that can grapple as well as he can. It's just a skill set for whatever reason that we don't see that often in the division. It's been a while since we've seen a middleweight just submitting everybody. You think of guys like Jacare and all these people, but it's been a minute. You got Muniz obviously in the UFC now. And just the fact that he has a skill set that you don't see often in that division, I think really gives him a leg up too, because guys aren't used to fighting these suffocating grapplers these days at middleweight. So, I mean, there's only one way to find out how good he is, and we just got to keep finding him tough fights, right?
Yeah, and this was interesting. Tom put this article together for me the other day, but I actually had a couple of days off. So I've just got around to uploading it. Go check it out, scmp.com/MMA. One championships, Reinier de Ridder could beat any middleweight in the UFC's top 10, says Dan Hardy, premier MMA analyst. Seems to like de Ridder's chances, Tom, against the very best in the world. Some interesting quotes from him. Yeah, you wrote the article, so tell us a little bit about what Dan was saying.
Yeah, I mean that's really that's the essence of it, right? He thinks that de Ridder has a fighting chance against any middleweight in the UFC top 10. And I think most people at this point would agree with that, right? But it's interesting because I think he does better against Adesanya, for example, than he would against a guy like Whitaker. It's really interesting. I think he has a really good shot against Adesanya, but perhaps less of a shot against some other guys who on paper aren't as good as Adesanya, right? It's all about, they say styles make fights in MMA, and it's really evident when you start, fantasy booking de Ridder against the top 10 middleweights in the UFC. I think his toughest fight would probably be someone like Whitaker. But again, for sure, it would be stupid to make him a big underdog against any of them.
But is he a light heavyweight? Because he's 205 pounds.
That's the question, right?
He weighed in at, and he's obviously not dehydrated.
That's what people were saying to Dan Hardy. Yeah, in response to that tweet.
So are we really should be matching up against Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira and John Jones? I guess he's heavyweight now, but you know what I mean. Is that really the level we should be thinking of for RDR? Should he, go up against anyone in the UFC?
Probably so. I mean, those guys are at least his size, right? That's where probably the tougher test would be.
He's gigantic. He is gigantic.
Yeah. But even still, I'd still favor him, or at least give him a good chance against a lot of those guys. Yuri, I'd give him a good chance against for sure. Yuri proved he has great submission defense against Glover, but we're talking about RDR here. He's really good at submitting people, so you just don't know with that one. And then just thinking of the light heavyweight fights we watched at UFC London last weekend. You had Volkan Ozdemir and Paul Craig, and what was the other one? Nikita Krylov and Gustafsson. I mean, I would favor RDR over all four of those guys at this point, right? I mean, obviously Gustafsson's fallen off. That was so sad to watch, but just looking at the kind of mid-level light heavyweights in the UFC, of course, I'd pick RDR over all of those guys. Him and Paul Craig would be a wild fight because they're both such good grapplers. But to me, the RDR against the light heavyweights of the UFC only starts getting interesting when you get towards the top 5. Anyone on the fringes of the top 10 or top 15, I would pick RDR to beat at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get back onto de Ridder in a bit. Hopefully he turns up. We've still got some time. But some other questions and comments here I'll try and go through now. Al C saying, I noticed a while ago they got rid of the women's strawweight rankings and a couple of other divisions. They should fill those as well. Yeah. I mean, I remember asking Chatri on a post-fight press conference thing, whatever you call it, virtual media, after one of the first shows in January. Yeah. And I said, it was after Zhang Jingnan defended the title against... Tiffany? No, it was Nicolini. No.
Oh, right.
No. Let me think. It wasn't her best performance either way. And he said, we're signing a bunch of world-class strawweights. Watch this space. Zhang's going to have a whole division full of challenges, and it's just not materialized,
Well, I mean, they got Wonder Girl to come over to MMA.
But that's not happening.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
sarcasm. I
Yeah.
know. But I mean, yeah, they have let that division kind of fester a little bit, and even atomweight's lost its momentum now a little bit. I think from the high of the tournament, it's kind of been sidelined a little bit again. Some of these cards, there's barely any female fights on them coming up. So, I think we do have Itsuki and Lin Shin.
That's true. Yeah.
On 160, is it? Yeah. Or maybe it's
That's
prime card.
The prime card, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
they've got them up first. Yeah.
Yeah.
And either way. Yeah, I think there's one other women's bout too on the prime card. The first two fights, I think, are women's
Amber
bout.
Kitchen and Deandra.
Right. That's right.
Martin.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so often on these podcasts, I feel like I'm criticizing one. It's done from a place of love, right? But the area where they're really struggling right now, I think a lot of people will agree, is that they've just maybe spread themselves a bit too thin. Just too many divisions. You've got like 6, 7, 8 divisions in 4 different sports now with the submission grappling too. You're just not going to be able to fill all of those divisions with good fighters in a meaningful way for a long time. It just takes too long to populate that many weight classes, right? So obviously what's going to happen is some are going to suffer at the expenses of others. And that's what we're seeing right now with middleweight, strawweight. Those divisions are hurting, but at the same time, we've got men's strawweight that's better than it's ever been. You know, we've got the men's lightweight division, featherweight division that's still awesome. The heavyweight division, we used to talk crap about that and how shallow that was. And now suddenly we've got, you know, matchups abound in that one with Buchecha and Bular and Malikan and RDR coming up and all these guys coming through. So, you know, hopefully these divisions get the attention they deserve at once. But I think just because there's so many divisions in one now, they can't focus on them all. They kind of have to, like, you know, focus on one for a while, build it up, and then ignore it for a little bit and start focusing on another one. And right now, just it's strawweight and middleweight and a couple others that are suffering.
Yeah, hopefully they can pad them out soon. But some more questions here. We'll get to John KL. Just a quick aside, any news when's the next round of Road to UFC tournament? I think it's going to be Abu Dhabi, right? They're really stacking that card for their big return to Fight Island. Is it October? So I think you can expect, they'll have a similar thing they did with Singapore, right? They're going to have the whole fight week there, and makes sense because it's still, you know, relatively close in the region for those Asia-based fighters and Australia, what have you. And yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that. You know, Top Noi, love to see him back in the cage. He was so entertaining. I think Shannon was talking about it. Yeah, he seems to think it's October, and Shannon obviously very close to Top Noi. So let's go with October. Okay. Ong 9. So asking what should be next for Brandon Vera. I think we talked about it a little bit on Friday. It's tough to really say at this point. I think Brandon is, you know, if he's still making movies in the Philippines and making money doing that, I'd be tempted to just do that.
Yeah.
You know, make my money that way. Is he going to come back and win the belt in this division, which has added a lot of like really talented people even since he's gone? And he didn't fight much when he had the belt, did he? I think age is not on his side, 43 or something. Pretty much we talked about this on Friday, but yeah, Tom, I think we agree.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to put words in his mouth. You know, maybe he still wants to fight and still intends to win that title back. But at this point, just given how infrequently he was fighting before he lost the title and the fact that we haven't seen him in over a year since he lost the title, and like you said, he's in his early 40s at this point, to me, those are all just kind of the signs that somebody is sort of maybe not retiring outright, but kind of has one foot out the door. Maybe we'll see him back for one more, but I expect he's kind of, you know, just kind of gradually phasing out of his fight career, focusing on other things, and more power to him. You know, it's great when fighters are able to retire and have something else to do when they're done. And it sounds like he's killing it with the movies in the Philippines, like you said.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't checked if he's actually still, he was doing a lot before the pandemic. Production may have slowed. So hopefully Brandon's doing some more work that way. And if he wants to come back and fight him one, I'm down to see it. Of course, I love Brandon. Really great guy to interview, a great guy to watch in action. Never a dull moment, I think, when he fights. But
definitely.
Other questions here and comments.
I also I have an RDR update. Well, not really an update, but it sounds like he probably won't show up. We're not getting any answers from him, so I think there's been some kind of miscommunication somewhere there. So apologies to everyone for that. It was, we thought, locked in, but perhaps not.
All right. Well, it's fine.
And there's still a small chance. There's still a small chance he'll show up. Maybe he'll show up 5 minutes before we're about to leave. We'll get a quick little chit chat with the man. I can pretend to be him for a little while. What do you want to know? Ask me anything.
Oh my goodness. Well,
how about this, Nick? I'm gonna name off the top 5 middleweights in the UFC, and you tell me if you think RDR would beat them or not.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Let's just hope he doesn't join the call at this exact moment and hear you picking guys that are going to beat him. All right. Israel Adesanya. Maybe we should end with that one.
Yeah.
Let's start with, I think it's Alex Pereira and Paulo Costa are tied for number 5 right now.
I think given the size, he's a favorite in these fights for me. Is he going to cut to 185?
Right. Let's do light heavyweight then.
Okay, yeah, go for light heavyweight.
How about let me look at the top 5 right here. Hold on a second. I think I remember, but I probably will forget somebody. All right, light heavyweight. All right, let's start with Anthony Smith.
Yeah, I think de Ridde wins that fight.
And how about Magomed Ankalaev? That's a tough one.
It's a tough one
because he's a good grappler too.
Yeah, these are all hypotheticals, but for the sake of this, I will go with RDR.
And how about Alexander Rakic?
Yeah, I think
I'll go RDR on that one. Yeah, for sure. Jan Blachowicz. That's a tough one.
Tough one. It's just because we still don't know really de Ridde's ceiling with striking.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a lot better than we know. We just don't get to see it really.
Yeah. And then,
but we've seen how Jan can get taken down and submitted, and I would think RDR is on that level that Glover is. If not, so I would back RDR there. Yeah,
that's a very compelling argument, and you've convinced me. I was gonna say Jan, but then you're right. Glover just blew him away with his grappling. I think probably RDR could do that too. So let's talk about Glover then. Who wins that fight?
That's the tough one for me. I could see it being a decision. I don't think either guy's gonna knock the other one out, but I don't know. I don't want to insult anyone from UFC, but
I'll say RDR on that one.
Yeah, why not? I think we could say he's definitely competitive enough to win that fight. Yeah.
And could he beat Yuri? Final question.
He's a lot younger than Glover as well. Could he beat Yuri? That is a great fight I want to see. I'm going to officially park my ass on the fence on that one. Just because Yuri's... Yeah, he's such a madman, Yuri. You never know what he's going to do. And I've got to give someone from the UFC some props there. I don't know. But it's funny just talking about it, right? You see, actually, he could very much hang in the UFC. If you match them up, in reality, I think he's got we've seen what he's got. He could do it, and I'll put it to you. Do you think that a part of him may want to jump ship eventually to the UFC?
I was just going to ask you a similar question. It's at what point do you think? I presume it's already happened, but at what point do other promotions start looking at RDR, not with the intention of sniping him now, but when his contract is up, when he becomes a free agent? Is the UFC already kind of aware of him? I'm sure they're aware of him, but are they watching him, waiting, to see when his contract is up and to make a play for him? Bellator, they've got big plans in Europe. You got to assume that when his contract is up, he will become a pretty hot commodity, and one championship is going to have to work to keep him. And I think it's going to be important for them not just to offer him enough money, but to make sure that he is entertained, right? Because he likes challenges, and there's not a lot of them in one at the moment. So if they intend to keep him around, they're going to need to sign some new people. And if they aren't able to do that, and they don't, open their wallets, so to speak, absolutely, there's a chance he'll go somewhere else, because he's trying to make money, and he's trying to be the best in the world, and he's going to go to wherever he feels he can do that.
Yeah, and that kind of ties in with Dark Sid's comment here about RDR's contract. He's he keeps hearing it's up this year. Be a huge free agent. He'd be one of the biggest free agents around, wouldn't he? I could see the UFC being interested. You know, the way they went and got Yuri, and look, it took Yuri 3 fights to win the title.
Mm-hmm.
They're not afraid to pay money, are they, to real, genuine world champions from other organizations, things like that. They're not going to give him 12-12 contract.
No, and the fact that they went and got Yuri, and like you said, he was fighting for the title within 3 fights. That speaks to the fact that they're, the matchmaking team in the UFC is always paying attention to what's happening in other organizations and watching other champions. So presumably they are well aware of what RDR is doing, and yeah, I mean, who knows? It's going to be interesting if he becomes a free agent, because there's going to be a real fight for him, I think.
Yeah, Doc Sid may be right here. Maybe. Sports
if I go to sportsillustrated.com and see an RDR interview this morning, there's going to be nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. There'll be some stern words sent on text messages.
That's all right.
RDR doing to you guys what my Tinder date from 2017 did. Yes.
John, if you've only been stood up by a Tinder date once since 2017, you're doing pretty good, I'd say, man.
Yeah. But yeah, in case you just joined us, we were meant to have Reinier de Ridde, the one championship champ for an interview, but some wires got crossed somewhere, so it looks like he may not be joining us. He may do. There's still time. We got a bit of time left. He might heroically jump on, but I don't know where he is or what he's doing. Is he back in
champ stuff?
Yeah, champ stuff. Presume he's back in the Netherlands by now. Maybe suffering a little jet lag. Who knows? But we'll see. Otherwise, we'll try and have a bit of fun here. Get your questions and your comments in. Yeah, we just talked a little bit about this. Sorry. Will RDR be the second Ben Askren, says Thanzor? Yeah, I mean,
you go ahead.
Yeah. So, I think, Ben Askren, what happened to Ben Askren I think he could have, really gone, it could have gone a lot differently if he doesn't, go for that takedown against Masvidal 3 seconds into that fight. He probably would have won that fight, and then who knows, he could have been fighting for a belt against Usman. I do think Usman would have beat him, but Ben Askren of prime Ben Askren of whatever year you want to say would have been way more competitive, but he did have the hip injury. He kind of sat out for a couple of years, hadn't he? Didn't go his way. No knock on Ben Askren, but look, RDR is right now in his prime. He's getting better with every fight, as we've said already, and I would expect him to do extremely well and sort of copy the rise or the trajectory of Yuri Prochazka, and I think he'd get a top 10 fight off the bat, whatever division he goes in, maybe like heavyweight. And I think if he won that, he'd then get a kind of top 3 perhaps, and then could fight for the belt within 3 fights. These are all hypotheticals. If RDR is going to go to UFC, he may not want to do that. So he may be happy in one championship. He may want to continue to build his legacy there. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I don't really think there's that many comparisons to draw between RDR and Ben Askren, other than the fact that they both like to grapple. Ben was like the best worst fighter ever, if that makes any sense. He was amazing and he was effective, but he was, you look at his skills outside of the grappling, he was not good. Everyone knows that. His striking was terrible, and he just made it work. He was so good at wrestling that it didn't matter. But I think that that's not the case with RDR. Obviously, we don't see a lot of his striking, but it's clear that he has the instincts for it. He's getting better at it. He's more athletic than Ben Askren was. Other than being grapplers that started off undefeated, I don't think they have anything in common. And I think RDR being younger too probably has a higher ceiling than Ben ever did. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's recency bias, but yeah, I think RDR is destined for bigger things even than Ben was.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Dark Sid, you're getting us in trouble here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. It's all good.
Chatri's watching this, just fuming right now.
No, we're not. We're straight shooters. We're happy to take questions and call it as we see it. It is a prospect that could happen with RDR until, if he came on the show now, we could ask him straight up, do you want to stay in one? Do you want to go UFC? When is your contract up? but we have not got him, so we cannot ask him these questions. But maybe next time. But hope everything's good. You say you're at the doctor's, waiting to be called in. Hope nothing serious. And thanks for tuning in, even while you're taking care of real life stuff. Thank you, Dark Sid. Appreciate the one of the hardcore OGs. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And there he is. If Ardio isn't show up, let's ask about our favorite Eddie Alvarez. What's up with that? He seems to be in limbo. Looks like he needed to sit down with one to figure out his career. Yeah, you also wrote another article, Tom, which I also published today, finally, based on the press conference from last week. Eddie said he was going to hang back in LA to figure out his fight. So I guess he was going to talk with, I guess Matt Hume would have been there maybe. Or
I don't know. Yeah, basically, Dark said it sounds like Eddie's doing exactly what you're saying he needed to do. He's stuck in LA for a little while and to sit down with one and figure out what's going on. So hopefully there's fight news coming for him, because he's such an important part of the US puzzle for them, right? I mean, he's a crucial part of that Amazon Prime deal, I'm sure. So we'll see him fighting before the end of the year, I bet.
Yeah, Alan Bones Jones is back. Good to see Alan. I have not seen you in a while. I was actually going to mention Alan on the show on Friday, because we were sort of fondly reminiscing about all the great times and we've had on the show, and it was good to have everyone back and a lot of people commenting and all the people in the chat. And I was thinking, where's Alan Bones Jones? I haven't seen him for so long, so it's great to see you here. It's been a while, but I attended AW NJPW Forbidden Door last month. Great show. It was great. I watched it on pay-per-view. It must have been great live. Hope you enjoyed it. Alan asking about Ric Flair's last match. I didn't know he's doing a last match, so he shouldn't. He's really old.
How old is he? Like 80?
Died. Yeah, he genuinely nearly died in 2017. So I won't watch it. No, I don't want to see it. It's going to be terrible, whatever it is.
Yikes.
Rick needs to retire 15 years ago. Anyway, other questions here. John KL saying, I miss the days when one put on Burmese lightweight fighters in MMA. They always put on bangers. So pure. That was before I was watching one, but you've sort of been there from the beginning, Tom.
Yeah, I remember these good old days. Yeah, when they'd have shows with all these Cambodian guys and Burmese guys and people you'd never heard of, and they were always knockouts. Yeah, I mean, those to me were ones like salad days. It was just so there was an innocence to it. It was just like getting this ragtag group of fighters from all over Southeast Asia, and just sometimes they weren't even MMA fighters, but you'd throw them in an MMA fight and see what happens. And usually it was good. It was, those were beautiful days, John. I'm with you, man. I pine for those days often.
Yeah, I did try and watch some of the old, very first one shows. I think it was last year. I tried to just, because I'd never really seen, the old school ones, and it was remarkable the difference in production value, quality of fights and level of fighters. So it is. You have to tip your hats, whatever you want to say, to how far they've come in the 10 years. So, but that sounds a lot of fun.
I was actually thinking on the subject of one championship's long and illustrious history and these chapters they've had in their existence. We should do one time when we're doing one of these podcasts, maybe in the lead up to some kind of big occasion or something, a special episode. We should do like a one trivia round, where we hit people with our best one trivia questions and we'll give them a T-shirt or something if they're right. But
I still got a bunch of T-shirts in the office. I was looking at today. And I was thinking, oh my God, yeah, these are about 3 years old now. So
yeah, I mean,
could get rid of them. Yeah,
there's some great one trivia questions to be asked. I'm sure nobody's really done that before. So it's
you'd have to come up with most of them, because
I'd love to do that. That'd be a great little challenge for me.
Yeah. All right, if you want us to do that, let us know in the chat. Okay, will you guys be previewing the UFC cards at LC? Is it the pay-per-view this month?
Yeah, we can hit those top two fights, Amanda Nunes and Juliana.
Okay, why don't we? I'm just checking what else we got. Alan's asking about wrestling and Leon. Yeah, let's talk a little about UFC then. Okay, Nunes or Pena? Yeah, what do you think, Tom?
I mean, these rematches when you have a dominant champion losing in a way that sort of feels a bit fluky, taking nothing away from Juliana's win. It's weird to see Amanda Nunes lose. Obviously, there are a million theories about what happened that night, but I just can't possibly pick Juliana Pena to win the second fight. I mean, the only reason to do that would be the first fight, and there's just too many questions about the first fight for me to confidently pick her again. I think Amanda Nunes was maybe, this is going to be a little bit controversial, a tiny bit overrated before that fight. I think she's kind of gotten by on power a lot more than she has on skill, particularly in the striking. And I think that was exposed a bit in that last fight with Pena. But having said that, she's still so good and so much better and so much stronger than every other woman in the division that I can't possibly pick Pena to beat her again. So yeah, Nunes by whatever she wants.
Have you watched a second of this tough season?
No, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah. I've not even seen a clip on Twitter across my timeline.
No, I'm happy about that. I don't need that show in my life anymore, man. It's served its purpose. It's the same reason I don't wear diapers anymore. It's just something from the past,
Yeah, but I don't begrudge anyone who does want to watch it.
Yeah, of course
enjoy it. Yeah. Okay. Do you guys think Paddy can become a top 5 someday?
No.
Not me. No. I don't want to see him do. I just want to see him. They match him up with lower ranked or kind of unranked fighters, and he can beat them in front of London or Liverpool crowds or Manchester, and he can do his stuff. He can do his antics. I think it's perfect for him, and give him more money. I think it's going to be a jump in class. He cannot. But I don't want to. If he wants to, fine. But I think O'Malley's going to have too much. Going to bite off more than he can chew with Peter Yan. Similar situation.
Yeah. Paddy's a weird one. I don't mean he's a weird guy or anything. Maybe he is, but I mean he's a weird situation because I just like usually when these young fighters come up and they have all these hype and expect they're talked about as the next big star in the UFC. Usually you can kind of imagine them becoming a champion. Like Khamzat's a great example, right? Sean O'Malley, even I've never quite been sold on him, but it wouldn't shock me to see him win the belt one day. But with Paddy, I just don't see it happening. I don't see him beating anyone in the top 15, maybe one or two guys, but just like imagine him against the best lightweights in the UFC. It's just, he struggled with Jordan Levitt. How's he going to get by, Islam Makhachev? It's just, or Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. It's just not going to happen. So maybe he'll close the gap in his skills and surprise everybody, but I personally don't see it happening. I think he's popular because he's entertaining and he's funny, but I don't know that he has the skills to make it all the way to the top.
Yep, Tom put it pretty well. That's how I feel, and it's not knocking him. He's a great fighter, very entertaining guy. Yeah, obviously, we're just talking about it. He's doing it, but it's good to see him making a lot of money on the other side. With Barstool, things like that. I'm sure he's going to get a ton of endorsements as it keeps going. He's a smart guy, whatever some people say. I think he knows how to make money, and he's not just going to fight for $12,000. Why would he do that? He's going to get a nice contract, I think, for his next contract, and we'll see how far he goes. We'll see. Okay. Alcy says, I like Paddy, but he isn't close to a top 5.
Alcy gets it, man.
Yeah.
Alcy knows.
Yeah. I think Molly should be given a ranked fight, though, says Al. Yeah, she was calling for Antonina Shevchenko. What do you think of that?
I like that fight. I think let's keep her away from the top 5 also. She's 32. She's lost a number of fights already in the UFC. I'd like to see her get some ranked opponents for sure. Antonina would be a good one because that's kind of like a style-friendly matchup for her. Antonina's not going to try to grapple her for 3 rounds. Those are the kinds of fights she needs. I'd like to see her get a few matchups like that.
Yeah, for sure. Alan likes that fight, Molly and Antonina. Why not? She's earned it. And I think the manner of her victories are going to get her that fight or a big fight, back-to-back knockouts. You don't get it much in the female divisions, do you, in UFC? So I'm sure Dana will love that. Some other questions. Dark Sid. Oliveira versus Islam. Who have you got, Tom?
Oh man, I hate that fight. Because I have to make a pick for it right now. It's
Yeah.
just I have no idea. I guess I'll pick Oliveira because he's beaten way better guys for a way longer time. I think he has obviously more ways of finishing. He can obviously submit anybody and has the power. We don't know that Islam has that same power. He hasn't really proven it. But I mean, how do you confidently make a pick for this fight? It's just not really doable in my opinion. I'll go Oliveira, but I'm not confident.
There is a champion, and his name is Charles Oliveira.
There you go.
I'm going with Charles.
Yeah.
It's going to be the most heroic victory ever in the sport of fighting. I think in Islam's hometown, his backyard, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be epic. Charlie Olive's going to get it done, derail the hype train.
He
just win that belt back.
He keeps winning, man. It's amazing.
Does.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite fighter in all of combat sports right now.
Oh, wow.
Charles Oliveira. Yeah.
Dang. Mine's Senzo Ikeda, but
yeah. I do like Reinier de Ridder, but he's not here.
Yeah.
So he's taking a knock on my list.
Oh, wow. I'm going to tell him, man.
Don't tell him. He's big. He's huge.
He's a big boy.
Beat me up. Okay. Other stuff here. Tan Zor asking, RDR and Buchecha. That'd be a fun match. Heavyweight, I'm sure. We both want to see it, don't we, Tom? Yeah. Eventually,
for sure.
Happen the way their trajectories are going. Alan hasn't watched the tough seasons, last two. But Rampage versus Rashad Evans, classic.
That Rampage and Rashad season seems to stand out in a lot of people's minds. But I tried to rewatch that a few years ago, and the fights were so bad on that season. The drama was good, because you had obviously Rampage and Rashad arguing the entire time. You had Kimbo, which was kind of an interesting little wrinkle, but the fights themselves were terrible. You had like Wes Sims and that guy Big Baby. Just none of them were any good, right? I mean, the only decent fighter to come off that show was Roy Nelson, and I mean, he was kind of good at best, right? So the talent on that show was way weaker than I remembered that particular season, but that was an entertaining one for sure.
Ashley Avery asking, how's Joshua Pasio and Jared Brooks fight? Is that going to happen? Have you heard anything, Tom? I haven't. Obviously, it was pointlessly delayed from July's card, or June, was it? Yeah, June 4, and now we're still stuck without it. It's not on 160. It's not on Prime 1, whatever you want to call that. If I'm Joshua or Jared, I'm pissed off, and
I'm sure they both are.
Yeah, especially because they booked. If I'm Jared, they booked the two guys I just beat handily to fight, and then the fight didn't even happen because one of them didn't make weight.
Yeah. That fight, I think at this point, there's several fights in one championship that we're all kind of waiting to be announced that we know are going to happen, right? We've seen the number one contender win, the champion's waiting. Obviously, Pasio and Brooks is a good one. Bular and Malikin's another one. I think all of these fights that we're sort of waiting for announcements on, we're going to get announcements for in the next couple of weeks, maybe even on the first Prime card. They may announce a bunch of stuff on that Prime card, and I think we're going to see all these fights land on those final Prime cards of the year, right? Because there's 3 or 4 more before the year's out that they need to fill up. They're going to want bigger names on those title fights. What's bigger than a heavyweight title fight between two champions? Jared Brooks obviously can sell a fight. He's American. Both of those matchups are perfect fits for an Amazon Prime card. So I think we'll see those announced soon. And and all the other big fights we're waiting for this year, I think, are going to land on those final cards of the year.
Okay. And yeah, well, Tom's not a United fan, so he's not biased. I'm biased, obviously, talking about Paddy as the Liverpool fan, but Tom does no horse in this race. You know, his criticism of Paddy is fair.
Well, I don't know about that, but
okay. Do you have a soccer team in the Canadian League? Or
I can tell you the first thing about soccer, man. Yeah.
What about the Edmonton team? Didn't Victor? Yeah, he just.
Is that a soccer team or I thought it was a Canadian football team.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
For some reason, I thought it was soccer. Okay. Okay. I'll keep going. Alan wants Charles v. Volkanovski. Yeah, I was kind of calling for that before they booked the Islam fight. If that is official, I think they've made it official. Because Volkanovski against Islam, I don't know. Does that have the same appeal? I'm sure Volk would fancy his chances against anyone. That guy is insane.
The Islam and Charles fight, I think, is more just because the title's vacant. You just got to get the division moving, right? If you get Volkanovski up there fighting for the vacant title and he becomes the champion, you've got this long queue of contenders forming at lightweight already with Makhachev and Beneil Dariush and all these guys. Michael Chandler's kind of ready for a title shot again. So if Volkanovski goes up there, becomes the champion, then he has to juggle two divisions. It just slows down the lightweight division even more. So I think they're trying to get this one matchup out of the way, have a champion again, and then you can start talking about having Oliveira come up or Volkanovski come up and challenge for a title.
Yeah, and I know Volkanovski wants to go up and do the champ thing, but I think there's a couple guys probably beat and just really cement his status as number one. You know, we had that with Ortega in the it could be. Let's say they do a card in Australia later this year or New Zealand. You know, you want to put Volk on that at defending his belt, and I think you could do Yair or you could do Josh Emmett, right? Yeah. So
the great thing about Volk too is like he's got these ambitions like all other champions these days seem to. He wants to go up a weight class, but he also seems really willing to just keep taking out contenders in his division, which is for a long time that was uncommon. It seemed like every time anyone became a champion in the UFC, the first thing they did was call out the champion above or below them, right? Try to get that second title. But he's the rare champion who seems totally content to actually just handle his business as a champion and take on the next guy in line, which is awesome. What can you not like? How can you not like Volkanovski? It's I question people who have issues with this guy.
Okay. Who will put trouble on Izzy? Says Olive Yan.
RDR.
Yeah, we didn't answer that.
RDR would. I'd favor him to beat Izzy.
Yeah, that's people starting to talk about it a little bit now. It caused a bit of a buzz, I think, on social media. Was it someone, Luke Thomas or someone talked about it? But yeah, I mean, given if Izzy kind of moved up to light heavyweight and then, you know, won the belt there or defended it a couple of times, then we see. But as it is, as the way they stand, just the size, it's. You know, and de Ridder is confident, very confident, adamant he would beat Israel. I don't know. It's a nice, fun dream match, the fantasy book.
I don't see any reason why RDR couldn't do what Blachowicz did to Izzy at light heavyweight. You know, he's a better grappler than Jan is, and he's the same size. I mean, I think he would be able to replicate that at light heavyweight against Izzy.
Okay. Okay, what do we got? So we were originally going to do about an hour, so we're coming up on that 3 minutes. So we'll just see what we got here in the chat. If you're just joining us, De Ridder has spurned us. What's the word?
Abandoned us.
Yeah.
Left us out in the cold.
Yeah. There was a snafu, so we'll try and or we'll just get an interview going. That's a safer bet. Because we had a few interviews, Tom and I, where you agree at a time with them or through the PRs or whatever, and then you sit down, you've done all your research, you got questions ready, and then they just don't turn up.
Yeah,
and that's fine if you're live and you've got to fill an hour. That's a tough one.
And to be clear, it's not just a one championship thing. This has been happening to me since I started interviewing fighters like 10 years ago. I'd say fighters have about 30%. They have a 70% show up rate. And I'd say I get ghosted about 30% of the time or 25% of the time, which might seem like a lot, but I'm not kidding. They often don't show up.
No, it's fine. I think I accidentally ghosted Joanna Jędrzejczyk as well. Not too long ago.
You big timed her.
It wasn't my fault. You know, they had a press conference for 275 and it went long because of technical difficulties. So Joanna was waiting to speak to me after that, which she was in the press conference, right? And she hung around, and then I was waiting to finish up with Yuri and Glover. So I missed Joanna, and I'll never get to speak to her again. So
I can get her anytime, I think. So we're okay.
Big shot.
She likes us, man. She likes SCMP.
She likes
How can you blame her?
not me.
I don't know about that, man.
I'm dead to her, I think.
It's because you're team Wei Li, man.
Yeah. Well, we can pick. We have one each. Good to cover the ground. All right. What else? Alan's asked a bunch here, so why don't we pick a couple and we can wrap it up. Yeah, Noda. We talked a little bit about RDR and his chances at heavyweight. I think he can win the belt. Yeah. Pretty handily.
The only question for me about RDR at heavyweight is will there be a size disadvantage, and will it be enough that he can be kind of muscled around, because he's used to being the stronger guy, obviously, and he has great skills to back that up. But obviously, it's a lot harder to apply your grappling skills when you're the less physical guy. And there are a lot of big wrestlers up there. Malakin and Bilal are both big wrestlers who are good at controlling people. So the physicality for me is the only question about RDR's chances at heavyweight. In terms of his skills, I mean, obviously skill for skill, he can go with any of those guys. He just might be a little undersized.
And Alan, on any thoughts on Tafik destroying Bellator's #1 contender Sydney Outlaw in under 30 seconds? I didn't see it. I had just sat down to watch the card, the main card, and then my landlord came into my flat with a handyman, and they proceeded to tear the place apart. So I had to make myself scarce, and I missed the card. So I don't know if you watched it, Tom.
Yeah, I didn't see it live, but I saw a clip of that knockout, and I mean, that's what people kind of expected from him, right? When he's coming over, we know how good he is. If you watched him in Ryzen, yeah, I mean, he's awesome. He's a beast. Can't wait to see what he does in Bellator. But to be honest, I don't watch a ton of Bellator. It's not a knock on Bellator necessarily. Just there's so much MMA out there these days, between one and the UFC and the occasional PFL card or whatever. It's just for whatever reason, Bellator is the one that falls through the cracks for me sometimes.
And Tanzor Onglar challenged Galval on Facebook. Round 1, 3 MMA, 2 and 4 grappling. Is it possible?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to overdo the special fights. It was cool because it hadn't been really done before or for a while in one. And yeah, we keep doing it. I'm more interested if we're going to do a mixed rules fight in Tanley and Superbond, not just because I birthed that idea into the world, but by asking Superbond. I just think that's more, you got two champions in two different sports fighting, each other. That's just more intriguing to me than Onglar and Galvao, because at least when you had Galvao and RDR, you had that question like, oh, is RDR's grappling on that level? And he showed that it was, yeah. But we know Onglar's not a decorated grappler. It's it's his weakness, if anything. So that does make it intriguing with the mixed rules, yeah. But like you said, Tom, on Friday, Galvao hasn't fought MMA in a long time.
Yeah, I think people forget that he has, and he was okay. He was, I'm not saying he was bad at it, but it's been a long time, and it's not like even when he was doing it, he was 15-0 or something. That he was like 6-3 or something. Like, it was, as records go, it wasn't anything particularly special. And like you said, Nick, right? The appeal of a lot of these mixed rules fight is like, can DJ with all his great striking stand with Rodtang for a round, right? That was the question. Ongla, there's no question, is not on Galvao's level on the mat, and there's no question that Galvao is not on Ongla's level in MMA. So to me, that's not the most exciting idea. If they made it, I'd obviously watch it because I can't help myself. But yeah,
I'll watch it. Yeah, for sure. Big fans of Ongla here.
Aren't we? Oh yeah, we love that guy, and Galvao too. He's a great dude.
Yeah. I really enjoyed meeting him, interviewing him in Singapore. He was good fun. Noda Lee thinks that Ongla, if he doesn't work on his ground game, he'll be gone. His striking is world class, but I think it's the best in his weight class, but it's grappling the complete opposite. Pretty much what I think. Noda, more excited for Christian Lee versus Oak. I think Christian won. I agree. Can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. We had a little chat, Ghost. Sorry, you just joined us right at the end. Sorry. We talked a little bit about this card. It's pretty weak, isn't it, overall as well?
It is weak. Yeah. I was just looking at the lineup like an hour before we jumped on this podcast, and my first thought was, if you take away these two title fights, which frankly are not the best title fights, right? If you take away those 2 title fights, this is a fight night. Derek Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich is like the next biggest fight. That's a fight night main event if I've ever seen one, right? And then the rest of the card, you look down, it's like these are fight night fights. It just doesn't have the pay-per-view feel, but I don't know. I don't need to complain about that. But
I'll still watch it.
me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if I will. I have to play a show the next morning. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll do it. That's fine.
I could probably do it, but.
Yeah, and very quickly, Alan, thoughts on Vince stepping away from WWE? It should have happened a long time ago. I might watch WWE again if he's gone because he sort of ran it into the ground for me. I don't think Tom watches wrestling. Not
a ton. I've watched here and there if my friends are watching and stuff. I watched a lot in uni, but just because I had friends who watched, but not these days.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but I'm excited, Alan. You know, I watch AEW, as you know. I haven't watched WWE at all, really, for the last at least 3-4 years. So it'd be nice to get excited about it again. You know, if they could make Raw 2 hours instead of 3 hours. I think Triple H is now running the show, so he's talked about that before. I'd be excited.
What does Triple H stand for?
Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Is that his name?
No, it was his character name.
Sounds like a law firm.
Yeah, his real name is Paul Levesque, but so when he first came into WWE, or you know, his character was some posh, you know, regal Hunter Hearst Helmsley was the name.
Okay.
So they just when he became they shortened it to Triple H, and then his career took off because bit catchy. Anyway, yeah, I'll be sailing the pirate seas for this pay-per-view, Ghost, I think.
No comment.
Yeah, well, you know, they normally put it on in there's a bar down where I live, and I go and sit there, have a coffee, breakfast. So I'm not pirating it, but I think the bar is pirating it, so I'm still pirating in a way.
Do you know bars?
Yeah,
bars. Sorry. I don't know about in Hong Kong, but in North America, certainly bars have to pay like an outrageous fee to show UFC pay-per-views. It's like $1,000 or something just to air the fights.
God, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
And sometimes they'll just order the pay-per-view like you would at a house, and if the UFC catches them paying like $65 rather than the $1,000 or whatever it is they're supposed to pay at a bar, it's basically piracy. It's crazy.
Well, they may struggle to sell this one to many bars then, Tom.
It's a good point, man. It's a good point.
Yeah. Well, sorry. We did not deliver on our as advertised. Reinier de Ridde did not turn up. There were logistical issues not on our end, so we'll try and rebook that for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I will change the graphic and the title to reflect that it's more a conversation on Reinier de Ridde's future in One Championship and potential future away from One Championship.
Mm-hmm.
But I promised Tom we'd just do an hour, so
we can. I got nowhere to be, man. It's no big deal. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I want to wrap it up fairly soon. I
guess it's late for you. Yeah, you got some dragon waters to get into, I bet.
No. I'm gonna be good today. Yeah, it's Wednesday, so I should stay off the sauce. But yeah, I want to get to bed eventually and maybe eat some more food. But a few other things here, I guess, quickly rattle them off. Good. This pay-per-view needs to sell low to prove a point. Yes, Ghost, I think so. But UFC pay-per-views seem to just always have a pretty decent baseline now, Tom, don't they? No matter what the UFC serves up, people buy it.
It's the money doesn't change for them now that they're on ESPN Plus, right? They get paid the same by ESPN Plus every time. I think they make more if it sells more, I'm sure, but I don't think it matters as much if a pay-per-view is a dud as it used to, which is why we're seeing cards like this.
It doesn't. Yeah. Well, we'll leave it there then, because maybe we'll come back on Sunday, do a little UFC recap. Who knows? We don't have much news on one until we.
No.
I was trying to generate some news by having one of their champions on the show.
Well, I'm gonna talk to Danielle Kelly tomorrow, and I think she's probably got some things to say about Angela Lee. So hopefully, I'm gonna stir the pot. I'm going to see what I can stir up.
I put out a bunch of requests as well, Tom, as you'll see. Who did I ask for? We're just trying to get everyone now we can on the next couple of cards, get them early, seeing as it looks like we won't be going to Singapore, sadly, if you missed that news. So, we should be bringing you all the big hitters from 160, Prime on 1, whatever it's called, Optimus Prime 1, Christian Lee, Okra Yoon, Adriano, DJ, Nongo. I want to get Nongo.
Yeah, and, I'll get Liam Harrison again.
Tanley. We'll deliver the goods, guys. Keep it on SCMP Martial Arts. We had a nice little bump in subscribers in the last few days, especially on Friday. We are now 27,903, which is cool. Be great to get to 28,000
and
904. We've gone up one during the show.
Another thing, in terms of interviews, if there's ever anyone you guys want to hear from that we might not otherwise interview, let us know, because a couple times I've seen that in the comments to other interviews I've done. You've said, interview this guy, and it's someone I wouldn't have thought to interview otherwise, and then I do it, and it turns out to be a really cool chat. So if there's anyone on the undercards or whatever you want to hear from, just say the word. We'll try to make it go.
Yeah, and as Alcy says, #get Shannon a fight. Shannon Wirachai was on Friday, and we'll try and get him back next week as well. I didn't get him on today because I thought we were going to have RDR again.
Too many fighters. I
don't want to set up a potential. RDR may want to try another division. He wants to win in every single division in one. Go and beat up some featherweights.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe. He might try and start a podcast. Beat us at that. So thank you everyone for watching again. And then once again, we are sorry to not deliver on our promise, but don't let it count against us. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 10. Ooh, you hear that?
Is that your neck or something?
Yeah.
Wow. Knuckles.
Interview. Okay, don't ask people that, because Alan's just going to put loads of wrestling ones, Tom. Though Dan Lambert is probably a good.
Yeah.
Have you seen him doing all his stuff in AEW?
Oh yeah, I've watched that for sure. When some of my old jobs, I had to cover a lot of the stuff he was doing down there with his ATT guys.
Nice. Well, have a good one, guys, says Alan, and reciprocated back at you all. We'll see you next week, same time. But keep it to the channel. Yeah, like Tom said, we're going to have a bunch of cool interviews coming up, and hopefully De Ridder is one of them. But anyway, Tom, what you got coming up? Any last message?
No last messages, but like I said, got Danielle Kelly tomorrow. Might have one other interview before the week's out, just kind of seeing where things land. But yeah, that's it for me. And yeah, articles coming to SCMP as always. Just keep it locked.
How's Ottawa? I forgot to ask. That was like an update. Yeah,
it's pretty hot here. It's actually turned into a beautiful summer. It started very cold, but it's nice now. My band's playing a show on Sunday, which is cool. That'll be fun. I'm kind of nervous, but
I forgot to mention I met someone last night from Ottawa. Yeah.
No way.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to text you, but I forgot.
Did they represent the city well?
No. Well, they're nice person, but they said it's not a great place, and they were very sad that they had to move back there imminently.
Yeah, it's getting better, but it's it's got the same problem that a lot of government towns have. It's the capital of Canada, so there's just a lot of downtrodden civil servants, and not a lot of action. But what can you do?
All right, the dog's barking at me, so
I guess that's your cue, eh?
Yeah, it's the go home cue. All right. This dog hates me so much, so
wow,
I'm gonna try and get out of here alive. Okay,
unacceptable.
It's a big dog, man.
I can see the fear in your eyes.
Yeah, it's woken me up. All right, everyone. Yeah, thank you. We'll see you again next time. Cheers,
guys.